Today we have just a super fun list. We have 10 movies here that I have in my collection. They're on DVD, and these have never gotten a Blu-ray release here in America. Now, one of them I know for a fact got a Blu-ray release in different countries, but I believe those are also out of print and hard to find, or they're at the more expensive price. So let me know in the comments down below if any of these got released in other countries, but right now, as it stands, these are not available on Blu-ray here in America. The very first one here is something that I've been watching since I was a kid. It came out in 1989. It's a classic buddy cop comedy with a twist. And number one is Turner and Hooch. You have Tom Hanks. The dog is played by Beasley. I don't think he ever was in any other film but this one, but just a classic movie. There's Reginald VelJohnson's in this one, Craig T. Nelson. If you haven't seen this movie, it's just great. Tom Hanks is switching jobs. He's about to leave the current job he's in. He's training Reginald VelJohnson's character, who's also a cop. And if you don't know who he was pretty much a cop in everything. I think there's only a very small amount of movies that he wasn't a cop in. He played Carl Winslow for years on Family Matters. I just believe that every film he's ever been in, he's been a police officer. You have Reginald VelJohnson. He's taking over. And at the same time, this dog here, his owner gets murdered. He witnesses the murder. And they take the dog in to kind of be the witness. But Tom Hanks' character is super uptight. He's very much a neat freak. And the dog is not. The dog is filthy and dirty. It drinks beer. It's kind of wild. And then putting them together, a complete odd couple story. Just absolutely love this one. And with comedies, you have to have the jokes. That's great. The perfect comedy for me is that mixture of jokes and the physical comedy. And this movie here delivers all of that. Just one of my all-time favorites. Highly recommend giving it a watch. This is just a great film and really deserves a Blu-ray. Number two is something that I absolutely love. It came out in 1989, but I only found it recently. This is just another classic comedy from that time period, and it has the jokes, it has the physical humor, it has everything I'm looking for in a comedy. So number two is Second Sight. This stars Bronson Pinchot, John Larroquette. Bronson Pinchot's character has some kind of psychic ability. They have this detective agency, which is a little quirky, a little goofy. They use Bronson Pinchot to solve all of their cases. They come out of a sewer. That's how the movie starts. But then as they solve the crime, they solve the problem, they kind of bumble it along the way. And it's just really enjoyable and full of laughs, full of one-liners. Just a highly recommended film. Really enjoy this one, and I hope it gets a Blu-ray release. Number three is another one from 1989. So I don't know what it was about that year, but those movies, I love them, and they're stuck on DVD. We're talking about Three Fugitives. Now, this is one that just works for me. You have Nick Nolte, you have Martin Short, and I just think that Martin Short's comedic timing is absolutely perfect. So this is another like buddy film. Now this one, they're criminals in the film, so it's not really a buddy cop, but it has that same vibe. And you have Nick Nolte, who is rough and gruff and completely opposite of Martin Short, who's bumbling and goofy, and it just works. If you have not seen this one, Nick Nolte's character, he is a ex-bank robber. He gets out of jail in the opening scene of the movie, and he goes into a bank. He's completely turned his life around. Martin Short walks in and destroys that entire thing because he decides to rob the bank, and the police all think it's Nick Nolte's character that's robbing the bank. To try to save their skins, Nick Nolte goes along with it. They kind of become buddies reluctantly throughout the entire movie. Just an excellent family film. Really enjoyed this one, and it's another one, no Blu-ray. Number four is another one from 1989. This is a comedy that I found recently. I picked it up for $3 at some store. I don't remember where I was, but it got this really cheap. Really enjoyed it, and I don't know why I just had never seen this one before. It's something that would fall perfectly on like those Saturday afternoon movies. And if you don't know what that was, back in the 80s and 90s when we had cable television, Saturday afternoons were really just where all kinds of older movies, things that nobody was really talking about anymore, stuff that just really weren't super popular, they'd be playing on some kind of channel on a Saturday afternoon, and that's where I found so many great movies. So number four is Out Cold, starring John Lithgow, Terry Garr, you have Randy Quaid, you have Bruce McGill. If you don't remember him, he was MacGyver's friend in a lot of those TV shows back in the day. They start out as friends, they open up a butcher shop. Terry Garr ends up dating both of them at some point. When the movie actually starts out, they all have problems. They kind of despise each other a little bit. There is a murder, and I'm not going to give too much detail detail away about that. As it goes, they're trying to cover it up. They're trying to help each other out. Randy Quaid's character is like a private investigator. He's trying to find the person that got murdered, and he's kind of a bumbling idiot. I absolutely think this is just a fun one that deserves a Blu-ray. Number 5 is just a classic comedy from the 80s, and it's Summer Rental. Absolutely love this film, and if you have never seen it, you have John Candy and his family go vacation for the entire summer at the beach. Unfortunately, Richard Crenna is not having it. His character lives there full time, and he doesn't like these guys because they're tourists. One thing after another happens, and at one point, they're even living in the wrong house. They have to go move somewhere else in the middle of the night, and it's just one of those like 80s situational, this happens and then this happens kind of movies. Really fun for the whole family. It's something that I watch every single summer. Number 6 is Captain Ron. This one came out in 1992. Absolutely love this one. Stars Kurt Russell, Martin Short's in this one. You know, I already absolutely love Martin Short's comedic timing. I think it's just top notch, and it just works for this film. If you've not seen this one, there are a bunch of people that live in Chicago, and they inherit a boat, and they have to go to the Bahamas to try to get the boat so they could sell it. But when they show up, it's a wreck. They don't know how to sail. Their family is just a little bit dysfunctional because they're super busy with work and everything else. That this entire movie, they come together. They have a great family vacation. They fight pirates. It's all kinds of fun. Really enjoy this one, and it just doesn't have a Blu-ray. Now, the next one here is just something that it's strange that it never got a Blu-ray release, because it did get an HD DVD release. So it did get put on high definition early on before that format war had ended. So number 7 is Dukes of Hazzard. You have Johnny Knoxville, Sean William Scott. I think he's a very underrated actor. You have Jessica Simpson, and I mean, why wouldn't you not watch the film? She's running around in Daisy Dukes the entire time. And this is just an overall fun comedy from the early 2000s. Now, I do know that my parents and most anybody I talked to that grew up watching that original TV show just wasn't a fan of this. It was too modern for them. They weren't into it. But, you know, you can't go wrong. You got Burt Reynolds. If you've not seen this one, the Duke boys, they have to go on this adventure. As they do, Boss Hogg's trying to strip mine the entire town. So these guys have to get back in time and let the townspeople know what was going on. Just an absolute fun ride. Really enjoyed this one, and surprised it never had a Blu-ray. Number 8 is Can't Buy Me Love, starring Patrick Dempsey, Amanda Peterson. You have an early performance from Seth Green. If you've not seen this one, Patrick Dempsey's character is the local kind of a nerd. He mows lawns. He's trying to save up all his money for a telescope. Amanda Peterson's character, she's the most popular girl in school. So they have this plan to make Patrick Dempsey's character popular, and that's by dating her. And so he's going to pay her to date him for a little while, and then they're going to break up, and at the end of it, he'll be popular and all of his problems will be solved. But along the way, they do fall in love. It definitely is full of conflict. Really enjoyed this film and thought it was just absolutely great, and it's something I continue to watch every single year, and I hope we get a Blu-ray of this sometime soon. Number 9 is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. This is just a classic comedy from the early 90s. I think it came out in 1990 or 1991, but it has just a phenomenal cast. You're talking Christine Applegate, David Duchovny, Danielle Harris, Keith Coogan, and if you don't know who he is, he's the kid from Adventures in Babysitting. I don't know how we don't have this on Blu-ray, because this is a cult classic. People do enjoy this one. This one I hear all the time coming up on lists of favorite movies, favorite comedies, favorite 90s films, and even I have heard people talking about how this hasn't had a Blu-ray, but it's one of my all-time favorites. And if you've never seen this one, their mother goes away for the summer. Kids are stuck with the babysitter. Well, the babysitter dies. As she dies, the kids think they have a little bit of freedom. She had all the money on her person when they sent her to the morgue, and so they have no money for the entire summer, and they have to figure it out. So Christine Applegate, she gets a job, but she's just a teenager. Then she has to try to figure out how to make ends meet, and then the other kids, they kind of take advantage of it. But as this dysfunctional family spends the entire summer this way, they come together, they end up better people for the entire event, and by the end of the movie, you just love everybody. This is just a really fun film, and I highly recommend it. Another one that's just kind of, why don't we have it on Blu-ray? 10 is something that I found back in the 90s. Absolutely love this one. I remember catching it on TV, and by the time I saw it, the sequel was out. I think there's like 4 of these movies now, and they did a reboot, so shocked that this doesn't have a Blu-ray. And so number 10, we're talking about House Party. Absolutely fun movie. You have Martin Lawrence in this film. You have Kid and Play. They were very popular back then. You have Trisha Campbell, Robin Harris. Just an overall fun comedy, and I would watch this anytime, you know, back in the day, and I just thought it was just absolutely great. If you have not seen this one, kid gets in trouble at school, and then he's trying to hide that from his dad, but his dad ends up finding finding out he can't go to the party. Well, he sneaks out anyway, he goes to it, he's trying to impress the girls. There are a lot of people I know that can absolutely relate to this film. I know I could. It's just something I absolutely really enjoyed. This is one that it must have been just the perfect time in my life because I've enjoyed watching it ever since. One of my favorites. That was just 10 movies from my collection that have never made it to Blu-ray. And if you want to see 10 more of those movies, check out this video right here.